LA classroom festooned with anti-American posters and propaganda. Teacher's identity withheld because America is such a mean place. I'm Dr. Duke, she's Katie, and this is the Dr. Duke Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Duke Show, the only program that keeps you educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. Today, we are sponsored by Mike Lindell and our friends at MyPillow. MyPillow is offering great deals, and this week they're saving you $70 on a 6-piece towel set. All you have to do is use the code Dr. Duke, that's DRDUKE, and get this 6-piece towel set. I'm really excited because we need some towels for our new house. So I'm going to be over this all the business. Use the access code Dr. Duke, DRDUKE. You bet I'm going to be using it to rack up mad savings. Okay, today we start at Hamilton High School. There is still a high school named after a founding father. And I guarantee you, if Mr. Hamilton were alive today, he would take this punk teacher, whoever it is, out and challenge him to a duel.
Now, as you remember, got that, Lin-Manuel Miranda, see, he's hip now. Hamilton's hip. Hip to be square. Because
you've turned him into a Hispanic black dude.
He's got the rap history to him, and he was never president, so therefore he's lower on the totem pole of
I'd like
hate.
to think the Alexander Hamilton we get from history would have challenged this teacher to a duel and then quickly shot them in the chest, as they deserve. Why? Because of this nasty, nasty anti-American, all garbage in the classroom. How do you have signs in your teaching classroom that say FUC blank America? That FUC blank America KKK. How do you have these things in your class? And no one says anything, right?
Well, they don't say anything until you have to have a student.
Yeah, that's right.
Who actually was like, well, maybe, why is my classroom decorated like this? And then the student has to go home and ask the parent about it. And then the parent has to care enough to be like, wow, that shouldn't be in your classroom. And then the parent has to call the school. And then the school has to maybe investigate or look a little bit into it. Because it's quite clear that the things are in the classroom. All you had to do was go on down there, and they did that at Alexander Hamilton High School in Los Angeles, California. You see the classroom, and you see here's the new and improved pride flag thing. I guess that's the newest version.
With pretty much every color in the rainbow co-opted, so no one else can use it anymore.
Yeah, it's pretty much, yep. And then you have Black Lives Matter, of course. You always have to have that.
But these are the ones. Notice this. You've got F America with 3 Ks. This is native land, right? So you got pictures of Columbus. F America. This is America KKK. This is native land. And F the police. This is just a jolly. I'd love to know. And the fact that we don't know who this teacher is an outrage. Because I guarantee you, if that teacher had F black people or F Indians, this is an American country, I'm pretty sure we would know, because they'd be standing on the unemployment line, we'd know exactly who did this and what their name was.
Yes, and I just want to know also some of the flags. There was a Palestinian flag, the transgender pride flag, again, the Black Lives Matter flag, and the everything flag, I guess. At this point is the everything flag.
Apparently, because California mandates it, there was an American flag in the room, but it was kind of casually dumped on a pile of books. You can almost see it there, right? Not held up, not celebrated, not hanging, right? A tiny little flag carelessly strewn across the flotsam and jetsam of a high school campus.
Yes, and according to the Los Angeles Unified School District, they did confirm the posters will be taken down. And they didn't talk about the flags possibly being taken down, but they did say LA Unified is aware of these specific classroom decorations. These specific posters will be taken down. We maintain and uphold student and staff confidentiality and therefore cannot comment on any of our students or employees. Now, I want to, you know how you read the F the police, right? You said that, but you can't see all the text that was in there too, but hey, I know what it says.
There you go.
Policing is a violent, anti-black settler institution that originated as slave patrols. Their primary mandate is to protect property and to militarily enforce white supremacist capitalism. They are doing their jobs as they are trained and paid to do. You can't fix what isn't broken. That's why we fight for police and prison abolition. Abolition, meaning we're getting rid of it. Not we fight for police, but if the students knew what abolition meant, I would be impressed. Anyway, then obviously you saw what the other poster says, so we'll just go with that one.
All right, and this one is a gem as well. It says, coronavirus is not the crisis. Capitalism is the crisis. Okay, can you imagine that as these kids are sitting there in their masks? To any other context, you were able to say this. Coronavirus is not the problem. Coronavirus is not the crisis. Capitalism is the crisis. Settler colonialism is the crisis. Empire is the crisis. The disease arrived with the birth of AmeriKKK, and it's time we finally confront and heal it. In 2020, make Israel Palestine again. Make America Turtle Island again. This guy, whoever this person is, the fact that they are over the top, even by left-wing examples, tells me that this is probably a male and probably a minority, if I had to guess.
I
could be wrong.
I
could be wrong.
Now, according to Parents Defending Education, the district at first seemed to actually defend the teacher's decision to put all of this decor, if you will, onto the walls. They had originally said across the nearly 630,000 students and about 30,000 teachers district-wide, individual teachers decorate their rooms in a variety of ways, with some decorations being directly tied to or in support of our district curriculum, while others are inclined to adorn based on their freedom of expression and individuality. Now, my question to you is, how is it that this person couldn't just decorate maybe their desk, their space, their little safety zone with maybe a little pride flag? Okay, a little Black Lives Matter flag. Instead, whatever this classroom is, and I don't know that we even know what this classroom is. Is it a history classroom? You would think maybe that's a history classroom.
It's probably
but it's probably English.
Fine arts or something.
Or something that has absolutely nothing. The classroom is the space for the students.
That's right.
Not for you to just blast all your political views out there.
About 10 years ago, when I volunteered to teach high school in a Catholic school for about 3 years, 2.5 years, my classroom, I made sure had nothing up. No pictures, nothing. In fact, if I could have had it my way, and if I ever get stuck teaching public school again, I will make sure that my classroom has nothing in it. Not a single picture, not a single piece of color, just cinder blocks. Just cinder blocks and no windows. So they have nothing to, because these kids are so distractible anyway. Just take away anything even remotely interesting to look at in the hopes that maybe half the time they'll pay attention to what you're saying.
Now, before we move on, just a reminder that if you enjoy our content, please consider joining the Patriot Club. Your tax-deductible donation keeps this show going. Simply visit patriotclub.us to get signed up. That's patriotclub.us. And it's a special thank you. We will ship you our brand new American Patriot tumbler that is etched with Mr. George Washington and all of his muscles. We are going to talk about a story we've already talked about, but it involves flags, and that's what the theme of today apparently is. Do you remember our friend, Kristen Pittson? What does she look like? There she is. You may remember her. She's a teacher in Orange County, California, specifically from Back Bay High School, who said that I don't know where my American flag is. So instead, I have my pride flag up there, and we pledged allegiance to it because I didn't have an American flag, so I used the pride flag. It was great. Do you remember her? Let's remind you if you don't remember her.
Okay, so during third period, we have announcements, and they do the Pledge of Allegiance. I always tell my class, stand if you feel like it, don't stand if you feel like it, say the words if you want, don't have to say the words. So my class decided to stand but not say the words. Totally fine. Except for the fact that my room does not have a flag. It used to be there, but I took it down during COVID because it made me uncomfortable. And I packed it away and I don't know where, and I haven't found it yet. But my kid today goes, hey, it's kind of weird that we just stand and then, we say it to nothing. And I'm like, oh, well, I gotta find it. Like, I'm working on it. I got you. In the meantime, I tell this kid, we do have a flag in the class that you can pledge your allegiance to. And he looks around, he goes, oh, that one?
Tell me I didn't nail that before.
Oh, God.
I got it right.
Make it stop.
I will not. So, luckily, people saw the story about our friend Kristen, and they're here to help her. Because we are still America. And we still have good people out there who are willing to help one another. And so, many people decided to help Kristen find the American flag. And so, now there are American flags everywhere, and I think it's okay for her to maybe pick one up and put it into her classroom. But they decided to, I'm not even going to say litter, but put onto the entire school property all of these flags, all of them. Everywhere. And according to one report from the LA Times, one area resident also decided to stake a poster bearing the words to the Pledge of Allegiance in the grass area just outside the school. So again, America, thank you for helping one another. That's a great thing to have, isn't it?
If you go back to the first picture you showed, Mike, for the teaser there, my question and America's question is, why is she dressed like Mork from Ork? Why is she trying to pull off a Robin Williams here?
Because he left us too soon. That is all.
Does she have those really hairy arms too?
That's what you take away from Robin Williams.
That's my takeaway.
Robin Williams, your takeaway is his hairy arms, not his.
Every time I saw him
comedic genius.
As a young boy,
comedic genius.
When I saw his arms, it kind of creeped me out. Yes, he looked like he had tarantulas crawling all over himself.
You were more of the Mindy, not the Mork as much.
Mork from Ork. Why does she dress like Mork from Ork? Because all I got.
Maybe she's inspired.
Simple question: is she gonna nanu herself?
She's not gonna nanu as well as Robin Williams ever did. Now, anyway, let's get back to the story. We have one mother who said that she noticed people were standing outside of the school and they were waving American flags and they were smiling. Oh my gosh, they smiled at people as they went by.
Damn Americans.
How dare they? She said, I saw it as I was coming by, so I got in the turn lane and honked and said, thank you for doing that. And we thank you, all citizens of that area who decided, you know what? This young woman, Kristen, needs to be reminded of what an American flag looks like.
If this was 2 weeks ago and we just started this story, it just happened, we really missed an opportunity. We should have done a drive to mail Miss Pritzker a flag. Try to get tens of thousands of Americans to send her a flag. That would have been something.
White supremacy, you continue to show yourself. And now you're showing yourself in perfectionism and the sense of urgency.
Objectivity.
And individualism. White supremacy, I tell you. Well, this is a thinking we have, at least at the University of Colorado Boulder, where during a conference for instructors and their graduate students, they were all told all about this perfectionism and this sense of urgency and individualism. And you know what? That's showing you. That's leading you down to white supremacy. The university's Equitable Teaching Conference was hosted by the university's Center for Teaching and Learning, and it convened instructors and graduate students for virtual sessions on how to use equity-minded practices in the classroom. Attendance at the conference, by the way, was entirely voluntary, so don't be all up in arms, people. It was voluntary, and faculty and instructors were not required to participate. That's their out of this whole thing. It's not mandatory, so you can't yell at us for making such assertions. Well, the presentation slides, because we always find a way to get these presentation slides, they were obtained by Campus Reform, and it reveals some of the details of a certain session that was titled Anti-Racist Pedagogy and Decolonizing the Classroom, which was taught by Dr. Becca Ciancanelli. I'll let our resident Italian speak.
Ciancanelli.
There we go. One of the slides lists perfectionism, sense of urgency, quantity over quality, and individualism as cultural norms of white supremacy. Just take a look there. Oh, perfectionism. Are students encouraged with the productive failure model? Are there multiple ways to solve a problem? Under sense of urgency, are goals set with realistic timelines? Is there a culture of stressful decision making? I like the quantity over quality because quantity is numbers and quality is, quality.
Yeah.
So
think about all these things, though. How could America have become the superpower it is without all of those things? What makes them so bad? Civilization was built by those things. You're telling me you really believe that the American people see only one answer to a problem because we're all white. As white people, we have only one answer. We could never have built what we built if we only saw one answer to problems. It's you idiots who want to pretend that math requires two answers to make kids feel good about themselves, the right one and the wrong one. The idea that all of those virtues that you're trying to turn into vices, no one's buying it outside of your colonial little world where you take young kids into your schools and you brainwash them. Outside of that, the real world knows you're full of it.
Well, the real world is quickly becoming their world.
That's true.
Because they're just blending all the
our
two
kids.
Because there is no real hard, fast anything. It's all a blah. Well, in these slides that were titled Decolonizing the Classroom, they did tell the participants, again, this is like grad schools and those who are going to probably be teachers someday, that they should resist colonial and neoliberal coercion around time and productivity. So basically, they want you to just take your time, do whatever you want, get it done if you want to, don't get it done, because this is a colonial and neoliberal coercion that they're trying to put on you. So, resist it. And you're supposed to refuse to push hard deadlines for assignments or you should allow your students to set their own deadlines. Oh, yes. Because things are going to get done then. If, you get it done whenever you want. That's how the world works, right? That's how we've gotten to where we are now. Because we just let everyone do whatever they want.
We've seen all week's teachers saying this, right? The idea that kids behaving, kids paying attention, kids doing their homework, kids showing their work in math. This is all white supremacists. And the one that bothers me the most is probably the most egregious. That white culture is racist, and therefore any argument on behalf of the individual over the collective is white supremacist. Really? You're telling us, progressive left, that you're going to treat blacks just like a collective of black people. You care about individual black people who think differently than the collective think. Are they Uncle Toms? The idea that you would see individualism as a negative, and you're trying to tell us why we should care about people who aren't like us. You don't make a very compelling case. You don't come across as knowing the first thing about what you're talking about.
I like that. One of the other sessions was actually called Crafting a Social Justice Syllabus, and we just reported on a story of a professor who wrote in her Who Am I section, or Who I Am, not sure which one she was, about how she's cisgender and married a cisgender and how she's so sorry.
Rife with privilege that she didn't ask for.
She's white, so she's so sorry. So maybe she's the one who led the Crafting a Social Justice Syllabus.
The Brothers Karamazov, I think it's the greatest novel ever written. That's debatable, but certainly it's one of them. And it's one of the deepest, most profound existential look at what are the consequences of believing in God and not believing in God, and what happens if cultures and communities and whole countries turn their back on God. What happens when atheist materialist progressivism gives rise to a conquering or a dominant position in Western culture? We find out Dostoevsky died in 1881, right? And so we're talking a good 30 plus years. It would be 30 plus years before the Soviet Union descended its iron fist on what used to be Russia. But Dostoevsky predicted it. One of the things most interesting about him is 30 years before it happened, in all of his novels, but in particularly The Brothers Karamazov, he is trying to show you what will happen when atheist and materialism in the forms of socialism and communism, when it take over. And it's not pretty. And we had 75 years of genocide and gulags and just incredible repression from the Soviet Union. So take a look at our first quote from today. Here, too, is one of our Christian figures in the book who's trying to explain to those who would listen what the modern world, with all of its progress and atheism and materials, what it works. The character says this: the world says, quote, : You have needs. Satisfy them. You have as much right as the rich and the mighty. Don't hesitate to satisfy your needs. Indeed, expand your needs and demand more. Isn't this the anti-capitalistic, isn't this the socialist dialectic of today, of Antifa? We're not asking people to live with less. We're telling people they deserve more. And so everybody, it's not that the rich have to be pulled down. It's that until we are all as rich as the rich, which is what everybody wants, there will be no equality. It goes on to say, you have needs, satisfy them. You have as much right as the rich and the mighty. Don't hesitate to satisfy your needs. Indeed, expand your needs and demand more. This is the worldly doctrine of the day, our character says, and they believe that this is freedom. What a brilliant undoing deconstruction of Marxism. These people actually believe that simply giving people more stuff or taking from people have and giving what stealing from people, what people who have and giving it to people who don't, they think this somehow is revolutionary. Go back to that quote. They believe that this is freedom, that it's somehow freedom, stuff, material possessions, that making sure that nobody in a fit of jealous rage, that nobody has more than we do. They call these progressives freedom. As he points out, the result of this for the rich is isolation and suicide, and for the poor, envy and murder. Isn't that a perfect description of our current situation? The rich have isolated themselves, insulated themselves from the mob, and because of their empty lives, oftentimes, Epstein, anybody, commit suicide. On the other hand, you've got the poor indoctrinated at the colleges and the high school level. And for the poor, they envy. They don't want to be free of materialism. They want as much as the rich guys, only they don't have to work for it. They don't have to invent anything for it. They just want what the other guy has. And if they don't get it, as Antifa so eloquently says, then maybe it's time to eat the rich. 1881, this book spelled out the problem we were having exactly today.
Well, we want to take a moment now to show some love to our Patriot Club members. And today, we're giving a big shout out to Donald from Louisville, Tennessee. Thank you, Donald, for supporting us.
Don. I know another famous Don we're giving a shout out. Today, let's celebrate the Dons. And that wraps up this show for Freedom Project. I'm Dr. Duke. She's Katie. Until next time, stay educated, my friends.